move now to Deputy Richard O'Donoghue on behalf of the Rural Independent Group.
Thank you, Ciaran. And Ciaran, I'm going to take you back to my first maiden speech, and you were actually in the chair when I first maiden speech. My first maiden speech was on UHL Hospital in Limerick. What disappoints me, it's taken 4 years for the opposition to finally stand up and join me over UHL. 4 years it's taken to stand up officially and say about UHL. And now, again, because it's an election, they're all now jumping all over us. Social Democrats today have mentioned UHL. I haven't heard you mention it once since I've been in here. Sinn Féin are at it again now today. And I've asked, again, 4 years on my maiden speech, I've asked for help and I wasn't helped. I'm going to give you a small history lesson on UHL. Jessica Sheedy, 18 years of age, went into UHL on the 8th of May 2018, and she died in UHL on the 11th. Aoife Johnson went into UHL at 16 years of age and died in UHL. That is the record of this Dáil of fixing a problem in UHL. The only way you're going to fix UHL is start at the top. And I've asked for the resignation of the CEO at the start. And I don't believe any medical person should be in charge of any hospital. There should be a business person with a board set up of all medical across the board. And why do I want a CEO to be a business person? Because they're not conflicted, because they're not giving the jobs to their buddies, they can't do the job. They're not protecting their buddies when they don't do their job. If you put in a person as a CEO that's private, that is accountable to the board of all medical staff, you can fire them if they don't get results. That's been the problem in UHL and all other hospitals that haven't performed properly, is the person at the top can't be fired. That is the problem. You want to fix it, I'm giving you the solution. Put a business person that's accountable to the people of Ireland. Put a medical staff that's accountable to the person that's in charge. And if the board doesn't do their job, they're held accountable by a person that's not conflicted within the medical circles. That has been the problem. The person, the CEO that was appointed as the UHL was appointed by Leah Varadkar. That's who she was appointed by. That's the person. Also, that person was involved in the Galway scandal. When there was a scandal in Galway over a person dying and paperwork gone missing. No accountability has been the problem here.
Deputy, please, now,
This is public record and written on the papers, Chair.
It might be, but you're getting into extremely dangerous territory. We're not entitled to make any accusations or implications in respect of the professionalism of any individual, whether leading a hospital or any other professionals.
But also, Chair, on that, and I will take whatever comes down the line on this. We have people dying in that hospital. If it was your daughter or son, would you be sitting here and pulling me on the same thing? Would you? 4 or 5 years down the line, no change.
Thank you, Deputy.
2 young people have died, no change. That's the problem with UHL.
The time is up. Taoiseach.
Well, thanks very much, Ciaran Corla, and thank you to Deputy Donoghue for raising an issue that he clearly and understandably feels very passionate on, without wishing to make opposition parties feel uncomfortable in this House. I don't doubt that all parties in this House raise this issue on a regular basis, and I don't doubt the bona fides of anybody on any side of this House in relation to wanting to see progress in healthcare and wanting to see progress in relation to UHL. And I think that should be our starting point in terms of any civil debate or discussion that we have. What I do agree with you on is the broader point about the fact that doctors in this country are regulated, the nurses in this country are regulated, many other allied healthcare professionals are regulated through CORU, and they all have various accountability structures if something goes wrong. And I don't think in any scenario that the role of management should be discounted. So I agree on that much. I'm talking more broadly than any specific case. So I share a view that there's many parts to the health service. There's the clinical care, there's the responsibility of government around capacity, resources, policy, I get that. But there's also the responsibility of those that are paid a very decent wage on a day-to-day basis to do their job too. And I think any fair look at any situation in the health service has to look at all the aspects. What I certainly have no doubt about in relation to UHL is that alongside the very harrowing and disturbing evidence that was heard at Aoife Johnston's inquest, we will now see the Frank Clark report, and I believe that's due in the next few weeks. I believe the hope of government is that it's due this month. And the fact that the most senior judge, formerly the most senior judge, a former Chief Justice, is carrying out that report, I hope gives you an indication of how seriously we take this issue. Because yes, and you've heard colleagues talk about this and question me on this today, yes, there's an issue around bed capacity in the Midwest, accepted. We need to continue to grow it. We need to all look at innovative ways to do that and do that quickly, and we are. Yes, there's a need to continue to grow the workforce in UHL, and contrary to some charges in this House, that is happening and will continue to happen. But there's also a need to look at, I think, pathways within the Midwest, and I think how you use all of the various bits of capacity, parts of capacity, to help serve the people of the Midwest. And then there's also the need that alongside all of those to know that with all of those extra resources, with extra beds, with extra staff, with improved pathways, that the place is being well run and safely run. And I think the Frank Clark report, I think it would be foolish of any of us to prejudge it. I have no knowledge of what's in it. But I can certainly tell you this, we're going to take it very seriously, because you don't send a retired former Chief Justice in to do a job and then not take any recommendations that flow from that very seriously.
Deputy O'Donoghue.
Thank you, Taoiseach. And I do hope that what you're saying is that Jessica Sheedy will not have died in vain, that there will be somebody else's life saved. But 2018. Now we're talking about Aoife Johnson. Where are we going? There has to be accountability within the hospital system. The other thing you've got to look at, how much has been spent in legal cases, fighting these cases and more over stuff that could have been fixed in the last 5 years if people put up their hands and said, sorry. Bernard Gloucester came out the other day and said, listen, I'm sorry. It's the first time they've actually said sorry. Anyone can make a mistake, but if you learn from the mistake, we're moving forward. But the mistakes have been covered up, and legal bills, 50 and 60 million being spent on budgets that you're talking about that could be done in improving the hospital system. UHL was the best hospital, training hospital in this country. My own sister trained there many years ago and she's now retired. It was the best. Now people go anywhere bar there because they're afraid and in fear of their life. That's not right for any person to avoid a hospital, saying that they mightn't get the care, or they mightn't get, when they get in, they get the care they need. But to get them into where they need the care is the problem.
Taoiseach.
I think there's a couple of issues you've pointed to there. I think the first is that I think we all are very proud of the work being done by staff in the hospital, and I think you're right to make that point. Staff working at the front line in UHL are doing extraordinarily good and important work, providing the very best care that they possibly can to the people of the Midwest, and not in any way, shape or form moving away from the very difficult and painful situations that have arisen in that hospital. I do want to just acknowledge that there's many people who have very excellent outcomes thanks to the dedication of the care. I think, and we intend, by the way, to continue to grow the number of people working in the hospital. There's no recruitment embargo in relation to emergency departments and the population there. And when you look objectively at the number of people that now work in the hospital versus a couple of years ago, the budget of the hospital now versus a couple of years ago, the bed capacity of the hospital now versus a couple of years ago, all of those have moved in the right way. And I accept, though, we need to move more quickly on that, and we need to be innovative and challenge ourselves in relation to interim solutions. And more broadly on the issue of open disclosure and when things go wrong, I do think we've legislated in this House through the Patient Safety Bill to try and create that culture that people don't, that people can actually, when an incident, I'm not talking about a specific one, when an incident happens, that people can share information, admit mistakes and engage in open disclosure. But there is a need for accountability.
Leaders' questions for today.